Okay. B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach B'ezrat Hashem. Today we're going to have our fourth class, B'ezrat Hashem, on dating, marriage, inyanim, ben adam l'chavero, concepts that have to do with us becoming better Jews. I do want to say a special thank you to our sponsors for today. Yosef, thank you so much, and Naftali, thank you. So today, I really want to go over, actually not go over, it is going over, but go over means not something we did before, but something that we're going to be learning. Fundamental idea that really can be plugged in to every aspect. And that idea that we're going to be learning today from Rav Dessler, it's understanding human psychology, understanding the entire world, basically, how everything works. And if you understand this, a lot of things are going to click. And I'm just giving an introduction. Number one. Number two, it's not easy. What we're going to be learning, it's not easy to do, not easy to practice, but at least if you know what it is, there is such an idea, hopefully one day we'll be able to try to attain. So before we begin what we're going to be learning pertains to marriage, we're going to be having some fundamentals in explanation of Rav Dessler, how human beings, now HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the purpose of what was the real purpose of HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating the world, and how a human being really is supposed to be. We're going to give those fundamentals, and then we're going to apply it to marriage. So we're on page 76 in the bottom. I'm going to try to read and explain, and then I'm going to also try to see some things that I want to skip over and get to the main idea. טרם שנתחיל בעבודה בדרך לתכלית. ראשית דרושה הקדמה קצרה. He says, before we're going to start in our service of getting to our tachlit, bottom line. Reshit derusha hakdama ktsara. He said we need first to give introduction. הדרכה והכנה נכונה מהבקיאים בעולמות הרוחניים חז"ל הקדושים. Okay. He says like this. If you want to know, today there's so much out there, unfortunately and fortunately, online, that when you're listening to these things, you might get a little bit influenced and brainwashed by all that there is, right? And unfortunately that's good, but also not good. Why? Because you really don't know where is the emet and where is the... It sounds good, and if it sounds good, what does that mean? Does it mean it's real? But he's saying, in order for us to learn, he says we have to first start with Hagdama, introduction, short introduction, Hadracha v'achana nechona ma'bikiim be'olamot ha'ruchanim. We have to first have our guidance, proper guidance from the bikiim, he calls them, not knowledgeable ones. Who are the knowledgeable ones? The chachamim. Why? They're knowledgeable in olamot haruchanim, in the spiritual worlds. And therefore he says like this, we're going to learn something that has to do with human nature. And who understands human nature? Chazal Ekdoshim understood human nature. Again, we're not talking about people, the regular people like ourselves. We're talking about people that were able to, that are living in the human body here, but really are connected to the upper world and able to understand what a human being is. So let's state the famous thing that we know. We know this famous Mishnah, Pirkei Avot. The world stands on three things: Torah, Avodah, Gmilut Chasadim. That everybody knows, right? He's going to bring a Rabbeinu Yonah. Mevaer Rabbeinu Yonah. Ratzeh lomar, What does it mean, Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim? The world stands on three things. Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. He says the Rabbi Yonah. Rabbi Yonah was a Rishon. That means he says the world was created for Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. It's not that now that we have the world, in order for the world to function, we need bylaws. Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. No, says Rabbi Yonah, it's not. Al Shosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed means it's not that the world stands on three things. Meaning, Hashem created the world and now He created bylaws. You know what it means? It means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted the world to have three things. Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. And because of that, He created the world. You hear? It's not that now that we have the world, therefore we need to have some rules. We need Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. No. He says, Mipnei shehem ritzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shenivra olam b'shvilam. The world was created for these three things. Hashem wants, רצה לומר, שנברא העולם בשביל בריאותיו שעתידים להיות רצון לפניו על ידי עשיית אלה הדברים. It means he says Hashem created the world in order so that the world should have Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. There should be this idea in the world, Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. So Hashem says, in order for these things to be practiced, I need a world. And when I create the world, you have these things. ואלו השלושה הם עמוד גדול, שבשבילם יגיעו לכל הדברים שאמרו חז"ל שהעולם עומד בשבילם. Yes. It means the whole creation, the whole world was created to have these three things. So he says like this, Rabbi Yonah says. Now, obviously we're going to build on this. He says, ואלו השלושה הם עמוד גדול. These three things are a big pillar, שבשבילם יגיעו לכל הדברים שאמרו חז"ל. Because of these three things, there is a pillar, through them you'll be able to reach לכל הדברים. To everything that Chachamim said, שהעולם עומד בשבילם. These are the three fundamentals. What is it? Mosif Tiferet Israel. Adds Tiferet Israel. The Mefarish on the Mishnayot. Over there it's, so he says like this. רוצה לומר, הנזהר בגימל אלו עולמו עומד, שיש קיום לחיי העולם הזה ועולם הבא. Whoever is careful in these three things, בגימל אלו עולמו עומד. His world stands. שיש קיום לחיי העולם הזה, which means if you're careful in these three things that the world stands, שיש קיום לחיי העולם הזה, עולם הבא, you are making קיום, that the world stands, that there should be sustenance, that there should be fulfillment, that the world should be sustained. לפיכך, therefore, he says, now that you know this famous Mishnah, and now you know a new thing, that it's not that the world stands and therefore we need three things. No, it's because we need three things, therefore the world is. Now he says like this. He says, focus on these explanation of these three amudim. We're going to explain these three amudim. Listen to what he says. We need to come back. These three things, אומנם לצורך רצף הדברים שעסקנו עד כה, בפרקים הקודמים והפנפתם בחרתי להשאיר את ביאור עמוד התורה לסוף. He says what we're going to do is we're going to take עמוד התורה, we're going to leave it to the end. What we're going to focus on is on this idea of Gemilut Chasadim. And we're going to tie this how it applies to marriage as well. He says, ולהתחיל מעמוד Gemilut Chasadim, we're going to start with this pillar called Gemilut Chasadim, from Kuntres HaChesed HaMefurSam Shel HaRav Dessler. This, we're going to be learning the works of Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler lived in the time of Haskalah movement. There was a lot of Haskalah. Haskalah means enlightenment. And he wrote a book called Michtav Me'Eliyahu, which is very deep, very philosophical, really, really, really deep. They translated it in English. It was written in Hebrew and Lashon HaKodesh. And I don't remember if originally it was written in Lashon HaKodesh, but it's a very deep sefer. So we're going to be learning from his words. And he had to write in his time works that ethical study that are very important for people that really are unfortunately trying to go off to be able to understand humanity. And he says like this. By the way, his work is used for mental health professionals. You know that. People that want to learn mental health, people that want to learn how to be a life coach and whatever, they learn his work. He just wants you to know that.
In yeshiva, or they learn it like
in the professional setting. There's right now a program called Relief where they train people to be coaches, and one of the things they learn is work from Rav Dessler, because Rav Dessler mamash takes the kishka. It goes to the kishka of understanding Adam, human being. And he says like this. He says, we're going to try to go deep into understanding and to connecting to these yisodot, fundamentals that we learned. He says, who is going to take the middle pillar? If you focus on these three things, Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim, which one will be in the middle? Gemilut Chasadim. Why? Echad ve'echad meitanu. So we are on page 77, right? יקבל מקום מרכזי בחיי עבודת השם של כל אחד ואחד מאיתנו. This is going to be the middle amud that is going to take that is needed for us, for each and every one of us, in terms of serving Hashem. ממדרגת פשוטי העם ועד מדרגת הצדיקים והדבקים בהשם יתברך. From the simple people to the biggest tzaddikim. They need to first focus, understand this middle amud pillar called Gemilut Chasadim. We're going to start the fundamental, and then we're going to apply it to marriage. רעיון קצר. למדנו שהבורא יתברך הוא הטוב השלם, ודרך הטוב השלם להיטיב הטבה שלמה. Now this is a very famous thing. Everybody asks why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, right? Why Hashem created the world? The answer is, over here he says, who is the complete tov? Hashem is the complete tov. Complete tov. Hashem is the complete tov. V'derech hatov hashalem. If I am tov, so to speak, for me to be not only tov but complete tov, I have to make sure that I do tov not only to me, to you also. Lehetiv hatava shlema. I am tov shalem. I am complete tov. So I have to give you also a complete tov. Share with you, right? על כן אינו חפץ מסתפק בהטבה שיש בה חיסרון ובושה. Listen to this. Hashem, if he's complete tov, Hashem does not want tov that has cracks. Anything that's complete does not have cracks. If it has a crack, if it has a scratch, if it has a hole, that's right. It's not tov. It's not tov shalem. Tov shalem means complete. There is no cracks in the tov shalem. And therefore he says, there is no chisaron, no loss. There is no busha, there is no embarrassment. That means Hashem wants that you should get hatava shlema, you should get the biggest tov, complete tov, with its own complete, without any embarrassment, without any missing anything. Therefore, HaKadosh will create the world, all the worlds for one tachlit, one purpose. This is shlemut hatava, means to be able to give good to you fully, without any chisaron. How? Listen to this. How do you get the full good? By connecting to the good. Tachlit hatov. I have to connect to the source and purpose of all the good. And what is that? Hashem. Mikoach hashvat hatzorah. And this is, he's going to give you terminologies right now. Rav Dessler is going to give you terminologies. It's very important. And again, these are deep. This is touching on Kabbalah. I just want you to know that this is touching on Kabbalah. This is touching on Gilgulim. This is touching on every aspect, Ruchaniyut. And every book that has to do with Kabbalah, has to do with Ruchaniyut, you're going to see that they're going to mention this. He says, that means, if I want to get to connect to the Tov, the complete Tov, I have to try my best to be equal, as close as possible to the Tzura. What's Hashva'at HaTzura? Hashva'at HaTzura means Hashem. Tzura, so to speak, form. Hashem doesn't have a form. But the terminology he's saying is Hidamut lemidotav. It means to Hashem, doesn't mean form, it means to his midot. To Hashem's character traits. That means, Hashem says, I want you to connect to get the good. Who is the good? The ultimate good is God. And if the ultimate good is God, I have to connect to God. The Torah says, ubotid bak, right? You have to connect to God. To what aspect? He says, Hashvat HaTzura, to connect to Him in a way where I'm similar to Him. To follow His ways. How? How do I follow His ways? Number one, he says, hashpa'a. Hashpa'a means influence. Shefa, what's shefa? Abundance, influence. Hidamut v'hashfa'at hatzura hi etzam midbekut. The more I try to connect and be like him, the more I am connected to him. Now, how do I become like him and connect to him? We're going to be saying unbelievable stuff now. But again, Hashem created the world in such a way where he is the complete good, and he wants you to get connected to that complete good. How do you do that? He says, by trying to copy him, trying to be like him. The more I try to be like him, I am forming myself to his ways, and that's how I am basically living up to my potential. He says the way to be koneh Torah, the way to be acquiring midot of Hashem is through esek HaTorah u'mitzvot mitoch she'ifa le'agia le'lishma. Listen to this. This is where we're missing. He says our job in this world is to be able to acquire the midot of Hashem through learning Torah and doing mitzvot. How? She'ifa, our drive should be to get to lishma. Lishma means doing something for the sake of the mitzvah. Dahainu kniat chunat hashpa b'dibur. What does that mean? For the sake of a mitzvah means ma'aseh machshava b'chinat ubot bakun hadbek bidrachav. That means, he says, dahainu kniat chunat hashpa'a b'dibur. I have to, again, this is deep for me. He says we have to, hashpa'a means influence. I have to be able to acquire tchuna, the character trait, to have the hashpa'a, to have influence and abundance, b'dibur, in speech, ma'aseh, in action, and machshava, my thoughts. My job in this world is to be able to learn how to speak. My job is to learn how to think and to act. How? Like God. How's that? Following his ways, be like him. He's going to explain. Rav Dessler explains, what is the sod secret and foundation of the creation? What is the root of the entire essence? The mitziyut. Mitziyut is reality. Haruchanit, spiritual reality. V'agashmit bichlal. What is the root of physical and spiritual reality? Rav Dessler is going to explain. And the root of avodat Hashem bifrat, specifically. Shakol mushtat al shnei yisodot bilvad. That means like this. If you want to know the entire Torah, midot, everything stands on hinge. Specific hinge. What is that hinge? And once you know that hinge, he says, there's two, he says, two hinges. The whole world stands on that. He says, number one, what are they? This is what we're getting here. This is the punchline. Noten v'notel. Hinge number one is noten, being a giver. Being a giver. And we're going to tie everything around that. This is so deep. Being a giver, notel means a taker. Being a giver or taker. Or in other words, mashpia or mikabel. Mashpia means you're giving, you are influencing. What's influence? Abundance, I'm giving, or mikabel, I'm receiving. Basically, Hashem created the world on these two things. These two things. Two yisodot. One is noten and mikabel. Giver, taker.
What's a taker?
Oh, now we're going to... What's a taker?
Everybody knows.
Noten. Oh, you'll be surprised. No. You'll be surprised that you think giver, you know who the giver is, and you think taker, you know who taker. He's going to give you right now exactly what a giver is, what a taker. Noten. Who is a noten? We're up to page 78. Tchunat haborei barach. Now, what is the character trait of God? Godly character trait is noten, giver. Mashpia lezulato. He's constantly mashpia. Abundance, influence, however you would understand and translate the word mashpia to another person. Lo kabbalat murah. Listen to this. Not to want to get anything in return. That's called a noten. A giver is a person that gives to another person without return, without accepting anything. But והולכים בדרכיו ודרכי החסד והלכים מקדושות.
The problem is, when you give to somebody, they want to give you back.
Oh.
But you stop
Oh.
them.
Oh.
They get upset at you.
Good.
Rabbi Rivka also, when I was in my Chatan classes, he says, I'm going to give you, he gave me like a whole list of things, 10 steps for a good marriage. He said, I don't care what anything you remember. He said, the one thing I want you to remember is this one rule, that the person needs to give without getting in return.
Oh.
Like if you look at that.
But 100%. But now we're learning this in a bigger context, which means he just said this like a beautiful thing. Now we're learning it's not only a beautiful thing, it's what the world stands on. It's a hinge. One is noten. Noten means, the definition of the word noten means not giving without wanting anything in return. That means comes out to be. If you're giving, listen to what he's going to say, he's building on this. If you're giving, how? God does that. God gives without anything, wanting anything in return. Notel, taker. What's a taker? Nitchunat haolchim bedarkei ahava atzmit. People that are going in the ways of loving themselves. Safe lovers, self-lovers. Selfish. Haparud vehatuma. Listen to this. Giving is kedusha. Taking is tuma. It's a separation. Hefech tchunat abor. It's the opposite of Hashem's nature. ובעיקר הדגש על קבלת מותרות. Especially, he says, when a person wants extras, wants more extras. Now, today, I want to tell you something. We live in a very difficult time today. Because we live in Baruch Hashem, we have a chance to learn Torah. We have a chance to practice religion. We have a chance to, yes. But we also live in a time where it has become very difficult for people to learn how to focus on what is the goal. Today we're focused on so much materialism. Seriously, I'm talking to myself also, that unfortunately we become, frumkeit became more like a style. It became a style of life. It's a style of life. It became cool to be frum. So therefore, mimela, I could have myself a shaitel that's $10,000. I'm not trying to bash anybody over there. I'm just saying, it became a style. I could dress this way. I could buy this type of a car, this type of a house. That, yeah. Now it became now integrated. Unfortunately, it became why, and that because it took away our focus on that. Our focus till now is supposed to be this: giver without anything to back, and not a taker. Taker means everything for me. And he says, Kabbalat motarot, extras.
But you just said that's a good thing to give and to take.
No. I said the world stand. Yeah, giving is the good thing.
What's the taking?
Taking is bad.
That's the two pillars?
That's the two pillars.
So why is that the taking?
Or in other words, he's saying, in other words, to say that, either you say giver or taker, or you say mashpia or mikabel. Mashpia or mikabel. What's mashpia? I am shefa, I'm giving you influence, I'm influencing you, I'm giving you, or I'm receiving, right? So now he's saying after this. After all of this hakdamot in the previous, all the introduction in previous prakim, after the yisodot, the fundamentals are very clear. The only thing we have to do in our speech, in our thoughts, in our actions, every person has to ask himself. After we did everything, we have to ask himself, am I a giver or am I a taker? If I'm a giver, I'm more like God. If I'm a taker, I am the opposite of God. If I'm a giver, I'm connecting to God. If I'm a taker, I'm the opposite of God. Now he says like this, האחיזות רבות לפנינו הנוגעות בנגעת הנטילה והאהבה עצמית. ומשום כך, מיקום הנגע ברוב המקרים נסתר מאיתנו. A lot of times it's very hidden from us. Where am I standing? Where am I? Right? Sometimes something looks as though I'm giving, but really you're taking. And people think, oh, what a tzaddik, right? It's really taking. Oh, tzaddik, taking. And he says, Rav Dessler says like this. הרצון לקבל, he says, בהזהרה תקיפה, הרצון לקבל מידת הנטילה. If you want to receive, you have a midah, you have a character trait of taking. הוא שורש הרע בעצם, it's in its root, in its essence, it's very evil, bad thing. It's Yetzara, it's Satan, Malach HaMavet. If you want to accept, that's what it says. What does it say? והכלל הוא, ככל ששיעור כוח הנטילה יגדל, the more my measurement of getting grows, the more I want to get, כך יגדל שינוי הצורה. The more far away I am from connecting to Hashem. הפירוד ממנו יתברך. Again, the more I want to accept, the more I want to get, the more I'm separated from God. דוגמה בוטה וברורה למידת הנטילה הוא מעשה הגזלן. He's going to give you what's a clear example of taking? Gazlan, when I go and steal, open. That is a clear case where I am a taker. אשר בכוח ובגילוי נוטל בחברו, openly, out in the open, with strength, with power, I take from my friend. או הגנב, או גנב. אשר נוטל בלא דעת הבעלים ומסתר השם. Was גנב does it in a time when you're sleeping, when you don't know, that's גנב. אך יש גם נטילה מעודנת. Then he says there's another one that's very hidden. There's another taking that is very hidden. אשר במשפט בני אדם לא נראה שנעשה שום עוול. In the law of people, our eyes think, well, you didn't do anything wrong. And guess what? You're a taker. For example, הגממת האמת היא מוגדרת כנטילה. If you really deep down think about it, you're considered a taker. כגון, אוהבי המתנות, הירושות, נטילת צדקה. If a person loves gifts, if a person loves donations, if a person likes taking tzedakah, that's the person likes donations, person likes taking tzedakah, person likes taking yerushot, inheritance. V'chen ohavei habetza, people that love money, people that love profit, yeter al hagiyam, more than my efforts. וכן כאלה אשר יעבידו את פועליהם, and also people that will make their workers work, לעבוד עבורם עבודה קשה במיעוט בתשלומים. I'm making my people work really strong, but I'm paying them little. You know, people want that bossy, what's his name? Work for me. I'm paying you. What am I doing? I'm really I'm paying you. I'm giving you a job. Really, you're not a giver, you're a taker. Because you're making them work hard, you squeeze every juice out of them, and then you pay them. You think you're a giver, you're a taker. So again.
They're giving you, that's wrong with that.
That's disgusting.
You're giving them a job. They're giving you a service.
You're right.
You guys are both giving and
Yeah.
You don't own anybody.
No. We're talking about a case where you are paying. If they're working,
underpaying them for the value of their
that's
job.
right.
Yeah.
If they're working and you're paying them according to their value and work and whatever, that's normal.
But if a guy, let's say, agrees to doing a certain job for a certain price,
That-
he wants it because
That's
what he wants.
so he's telling you that's a taker.
Even if the guy agrees to it,
Yes.
it's not the guy's saying, "Oh, I promised
That's
you
a
$1,000,
take.
I'll
That's
give
a
you
taker.
500."
Because deep down, do you know, if you yourself know that you're really gypping him, and it's really not fair?
It's the way of the business, and like for example.
So he's telling you that's a taker. It doesn't matter. He's telling you so. That's called a taker. Business, not
that's
business.
the business.
That's a taker.
If there's certain compensation, let's say if you're a doctor, you make this compensation. If you're a lawyer, you make this compensation. Depending on the job, depending on the season. For example, a guy who does accounting,
Yeah.
he's going to be worked to the core by April 15th. At that time of April 15th, that's when the time of taxes, he's going to be working a lot
100%.
harder
But
than
guess
the
you're
regular.
right. But he's also going to be making a lot harder.
I
Yes.
understand. So, but I'm saying
We're talking about your work. You're making the guy work more for less money. That's and like you
he
said,
agrees to the job. He's agreeing.
that's
to the
called
job.
a taker.
Why?
That's exactly what he's telling you.
Who's the taker there? It's one thing if it's a job that's you're supposed to be getting paid $50 an hour and he's charging you 25. If it's a job that you pay 20 to 25 an hour and you're working the job, yes, you work day and night.
Yeah, but is that job equivalent to $25 an hour?
If it is,
Construction workers, they get paid most like $25 an hour.
It's like
if you're
commission
taking
work
advantage,
stuff.
then yes.
That's what we're talking
You're
about.
taking advantage.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about like this, where you know you're taking advantage, and he doesn't
If a
know.
guy doesn't- a
If
guy
he
doesn't
agrees
agree,
and he
it's
doesn't
not
know
a
you're taking
problem.
advantage, that's
hiring
called.
an
No.
intern instead of an assistant because you can get them for free as opposed to paying them $20.
So according to his yisod, that's called a taker.
Somebody hired.
He's giving you right now fundamentals. Now, how do we apply it? When do we apply it? Where do we apply it? That's questions to ask later on. The point
The
is,
question is like someone who's an apprentice is learning the job and they're getting purposely underpaid to learn. They're doing way more than they're worth.
Yeah, but over there might be that they are purposely signed up for knowing their worth, knowing they're willing to do
That's
that.
their job.
That's the job. But again, he's talking about you want to earn a lot, you want to get a lot of money, you want to be rich. Yeter aligiam, more than my working hard, right? Sometimes people jip. I'll give you a good example. Today, how many of us work honest? What's his name? Are you telling me a lot of us get our compensation based on how much work we put in?
It's not work like that.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't work like that though. If let's say for example yeshiva, let's say they don't have that much funds. You have like you always say, we always have incredible people. They don't want to stay because they're not getting compensated correctly. If they don't have the access to the funds, this is what they have available. So if they have access, they'll give them the compensation. If they don't have it and they accept to do the
But
job,
I don't think
then
he's saying that. I'm saying that if you're getting $100 an hour, right, and you're, let's say, a doctor, but you sat there drinking coffee for like 20 minutes, schmoozing with someone else for another 20 minutes, you wasted 40
that's
minutes.
stealing that.
No, but we're all doing that.
The point is, I'm not paying in equivalence to how much I'm taking from the person. That's all. Even though it looks like I'm giving him, but if I'm taking more than I'm giving, then that's considered taking. All these and similar cases are. The point is, you know how you evaluate? Am I giving more or I'm taking more? In every situation, ask yourself, in this situation, what am I? Am I benefiting more or I'm giving more? If I'm benefiting more, that means I'm a taker. And if I'm a taker, that means I'm farthering myself away from Hashem. If I'm a giver, that means I'm getting closer to Hashem. Why? Because Tov is what? Tov is what? Hashem is Tov, giving without any what's there. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. If we look at our children, how much are we willing to give to our kids? We will go above and beyond for our children, even unfortunately, or fortunately, even today, even if kids don't listen, even if kids don't rebel, parents love their kids to the point where they're willing to. Why? Because they're kids, right? We understand this idea of giving, and today the big word became without any conditions, unconditional, right? Where does that come from, unconditional? Where did we even get that idea of unconditional? God. Even the little that we are giving, shoresh kavanatam. What's the root of their kavanah? Litol, to take. Shebeitim kenegdo. Shivatayim kenegdo. Sorry, double. That's the point. The point is, yes, I'm giving. The question is, how much am I getting back? Am I getting back more? That could be considered I'm taking. People that follow the koach hanetilah, lo rak shemazikim la'atzmam ruchanit. Not only by the way, he's saying not only they're hurting themselves spiritually, ela gam me'orarim magbirim kinah. They cause jealousy, and it's very true, by the way. This is the yisod of jealousy. Why jealousy? Because here's a guy that all of a sudden takes. He becomes the multi-world same. Another guy looks at him and says, "Hey, why is he like that? I also want." Look, what does everybody do today? The biggest thing everybody started doing, you turn around and every second person does what?
Social media.
No. Besides that, what job does everybody do? Every single person, cash advance. Why? Where does that come from? Let's just why. Because I see a guy all of a sudden, literally young guy, all of a sudden making hundreds of dollars. I also want, right? And once he also, right? And again, I'm not here. I'm not here to say. You do cash advance. By the way, I'm not saying whether it's bad or good. I'm saying that it causes other people to see it and say, "Look at this guy! Wow, look how much money he's making."
Yeah,
well,
but it's never going to stop. That's human nature.
Oh,
you always look at the next person. You always want more.
But that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying that because a person always wants more and he's a taker. What happens when he's a taker? He causes other people jealousy. And he causes other people jealousy, sina, hatred, tacharut ba'olam. He creates tacharut, competition in the world. Midot hamiviot lidei tzar. These characteristic traits bring to tzar, pain. Milchamot, wars, yisurim, sicknesses, problems, cholaim, ra'im, mita, keduma ba'olam. People die early. Technically, let's go bottom line. Why people die early?
Stress,
Yeah, but why people have stress?
work, money.
Jealousy. That's what it comes to. See, that guy is making, oh, I also want, so therefore I'm going to work harder. I work harder, and then stress and medicine and medication and pharmaceuticals are making more money because, you know what? They're creating this whole system and we're all running after it. Why? Because I want to be a taker. That's what he's saying. Again, I'm giving you Yisodot now. It's not my words, no Yisodot. It's not the way the world is. No, it's not the way the world is. It's the way we made the world. Beautiful.
Are we not allowed
We.
to want things?
Rabbi,
No, so he's gonna give you, obviously he's gonna give you a formula of how, when, where, obviously. But the point is this you have to always ask yourself, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a taker or I want to be a giver? Or what am I doing right now while I'm dealing with this person? Am I being a taker or I'm being a giver? What am I being more right now by being a giver, right?
Rabbi, but a little bit of like not jealousy, but like you want to emulate. Let's say you see somebody that does something good, and you're like, that's how a person grows. They look at him, and like for example, you can even go, let's say, in a religious aspect. A guy sees a guy learning, wow, look, guy's finished.
So in religious, there is a concept called, what does it say? Kinat sofrim, jealousy of sofrim. There is a kind of kilu, you are allowed to have such a thing. Kinat sofrim.
But that's how you gotta.
That's
grow.
beautiful.
But if you don't have that jealousy in a positive way, you won't grow to it. Why? Because you're constantly focused on this is the only thing I know how to do.
That makes you have the drive.
Over here, you look at somebody and
Thank you.
if you look at that and you're like, wow, look, if a person's boxed into a certain 4 amos of stuff that he knows, he will never grow into that aspect. When he starts seeing a little bit something else, he's like, okay, wow, there's something that I can attain, that's attainable, not something that's out of reach.
So he's explaining to you that there are certain things that you are allowed to desire and want and attain so long that it's under the roof of giving. If it's under the roof of taking, that now we have to study what's under the roof of giving, what's under the...
With like business and money, it comes with greed.
Oh,
That's it. It's just, you're being greedy.
yeah.
Everybody wants more, mark up the prices, mark up the interest, whatever it is. Just
Right, you're right. That's why we have wars. That's why we have this. That's why we have sicknesses. It's all really that. Now again, yes, this is the way it's done. But does that mean that just because it's done like that, does that mean that it doesn't make it right already? And so I'm saying, just because people do certain things, just because people rob banks, and that became the way of life, that means that's the normal thing to do, let's continue robbing banks. Just because people kill people, you know what I mean, and it became normal, so let's go kill people. That's what we have, huh?
Every business I'm looking at these days,
Yeah, of
there's
course.
no business that is
Of course.
straightforward.
Of course.
Everything has a little bendy to it, it's all like corrupt.
But he's telling you, what does the Mishnah say? It says, what does the Pasuk in Mishnah say? Soneh matanot yichyeh. Look, what does Shlomo HaMelech say? Soneh matanot yichyeh. Those that hates matana, gifts, he'll live. What does that mean? Yichyeh mamash, he says, really live. Chaim ametim ruchim, you'll have a spiritual life. We're talking about people that want to have a spiritual life. Don't kid yourself. I'm talking to myself. I want to have a spiritual life. If I want to have a spiritual life, this is the way to do it. It's very hard to dance on 2 weddings at the same time. You can't do that. Person has to make a decision where he wants to stand. He wants this, he wants that. I'm talking to myself as well. If he wants a spiritual life is to always be connected to Hashem. And how is that? By being a mashpia, a noten. כי אם אדם מבין ומפנים באמת שכל קבלה לעצמו רק מרחיקה אותו. If a person really understands that every time I accept something and get something for myself, I'm actually farthering myself away from God. ממקור הטוב, who's God? He is the fundamental, foundation, source of all the good. So I'm farthering myself away from people, from God. That's called shinui tzora. I'm changing the form, so to speak. Changing the form. Now, this is the last one that we're going to go to. How does that apply to marriage and whatever? Let's go to page 80. ודאי שישריש סלידה מכל נטילה, וישנא כל קבלה, מרחיקה אותו בתחתית הדבקות בין אדם לנטילה. If you really understand what it is, you're going to try to farther yourself away. The problem is we don't really understand. Our problem is today, again, like I said today, because Frumkeit became a style, which is in a way has a bracha in it as well. We live in the Goyish world today. We live in the Goyish world, so we get kind of accepted. But because today it became a style, it's very difficult for a person to say, you know what? I want to, I want to be able to live this lifestyle, to be able to constantly be a noten, not be mikabel. It's very hard. But the truth is that if you really understand what it is, you're really going to take yourself away from that taking. You're going to hate. Anybody gives you gifts? The Gemara says, what does the Gemara say? If you work for your money and you make Ashrecha v'tov, it's good for you. Rav Zvid Amar Zochev v'nocher shnei olamot. You get two olamot, two worlds. Ha'olam hazeh olam haba. When Rabbi Lazar, the Gemara says, they would bring him matanot, they would bring him gifts. Lo shakil, he didn't take any matanot. So we see Chazal, they didn't take matanot. Why? Because when I take, automatically I farther myself away from God. But I'm going to read to you the last paragraph on page 80. He says, "Mesaprim al bala chafetz chaim." That's why he became the chafetz chaim. That's why today we still learn his sfarim. For Dorei Dorot, we're still going to learn his sfarim. What does it say about chafetz chaim? Look what he says. Asher lo ratza litparnes mitorato. He didn't want to get parnasah from his Torah. See, he didn't want to get paid for Torah learning. He opened up a makolet, a supermarket for himself. Of course, what's going to happen? Imagine Chafetz Chaim opening up a makolet. What's going to be? Everybody's going to come to him. I want to buy from him. Why is it like that, by the way? Think to yourself. Why do I want to go buy from the Chafetz Chaim?
You want something that comes from greatness.
I know he's honest. There's only honesty there. So that means it comes out to me, in a way, in essence, I really want to be connected to honest people. The reason why I have to cheat and lie and everything is because everybody around me is cheaters and liars, so I have to do that. But really, if I'm an honest person and I do my business correct, and I'm the Chafetz Chaim, everybody wants to, because they know he's not here to jib me, he's here to parnasah, so he can eat, just have sustenance. Everybody ran to him. Why? Because he says, because his schora was me'ula. Whatever he sold was top. He had fruits, for example, top level, right? Not like you get fruits already from 3 days ago and you're selling it from. Hamidash degusha v'mishkal machrir lokech tadir. Ra'at tzadik shebekach nivgad parnasav shel sharacham. So what did the Chafetz Chaim say? If I do that, you know what happens? The parnasah of other will be getting ruined. So what did he do? Tzimtzem et shaot ha'pticha. So now he started, what did he do? He started opening not from 9 to 5 or whatever. He started opening for 2 hours a day. He saw that if I'm going to continue what's name, people are coming to me. It's taking away the person. Imagine you own right now. Chaim International is owned by the Chafetz Chaim. What happens? Everybody's going. Wasserman is owned by the Chafetz Chaim. Everybody's going to him. What's going to happen to all the supermarkets? Nothing. So he says, you know what? Wasserman. Imagine I start saying, I'm going to only open 2 hours a day. What happened? People started actually coming only those 2 hours a day because they just want to do business. Chafetz Chaim, right? So what do you do in the end? Sagar chanuto legamre ubekach itased im kono v'tunato. He closed the store. How he did parnasah, whatever. The point is, I'm going to skip now. We're going to go to the main point of here. Is 106. Open up to 106. This is the punchline now. Oto yisod nifla shelimed otanu Rav Dessler. This is the yisod that Rav Dessler taught us. Listen to this. Shanitina molida hava. When you give, it gives birth to love. It gives birth to love. When you're a giver, you have more love for people. Ozer lanu gam lavin ulyashem et avodah shlema b'chayei nisin. Helps us also to understand marriage and kesher azugi, relationship between husband and wife. Listen to this. Hanitina hadadit ben bal ishto molida hava. When you give to your wife and your wife gives to you, that gives birth to love. That's called notnim. When you give your wife without any desire to get back, you just give. You call the noten, and that's a complete noten. We know that a man without a woman is not complete. Like we did this Gemara Yivamot, was Gemara Rabbi Lazar, Kol Adam she'en lo isha, eno Adam. Here the Gemara says, Rabbi Lazar says, if you have no isha, you're not Adam. How do we know? Hashem says, Zacharun keva bera'am. Hashem created the world. Zacharun keva bera'am. Vayivarech otam, vayikra et shemam Adam. He called their name Adam. That means he says Zachar Nekeva, and he called him Adam. That means if a person is alone or woman, he's not Adam. ורמז עוד בפסוק זה, כי הנשמות נבראו זוגות זכר ונקבה, באים לעולם השפל איש ואשתו, ובכורם נקראים אדם. When a man and a woman come together, and they get married, they become אדם. שלמה זכר ונקבה אדם. אומר זוהר הקדוש, what is Zohar? Zohar writes, אדם בלי אישה הוא חצי גוף. זוהר. Man with no woman, he's a half a body. ואין השכינה שורה עליו, שכינה is not on him. שכינה does not rest on him. עיקר השלמות נבחרת בהיותם נותנים. That means, you know, when you're tested, your shlemut. When is your shlemut? As a matter of fact, that's why Hashem makes a person get married. You know why? Because He wants you to be a noten. He wants to be a giver. So Hashem forces you into the world where you are going to be forced to be a giver. That's why you have children, right? To be a giver. By the way, if I was a taker, I know teenagers that used to sleep. They would sleep in till 12, 1, 2, right? Once they start having kids, well, I think I sleep in. Wake up in the middle of the night, you feed the baby, and you go to work, and you wake up early. You tell me. Why? Why Hashem made that? Because Hashem put in the world that you have to be a giver. That's the essence. Because when you give, you become connected to God. And therefore he says, when you get married, he says, Ikar shlemut nivchenet. When is your shlemut tested? If you're a good person, you know what? Tested. And that's why today people have tremendous shalom bayit problems because they're missing this idea. When is your shlemut tested? When you are notnim, ma'anikim umelaim and chaser leben zug. When I am giving what's missing to my partner, when I keep on giving, that's when I become a noten, ben binyanei chomer, whether physically or spiritually. Ve'im zuhi shifatam be'emet. And if this is my goal, when I get married, if my goal is to be able to give my wife, be'echrech שהתוצאה תהיה דבקות ואהבה. There's going to be love, there's going to be real love, בסוד התלמוד בין הנותן לנותנת. That means he's telling you, if today Shalom Bayit problem is one of the biggest reasons why people get divorced, is because I always think that I have to get. We have a problem in our philosophy. Philosophy is I have to get. No! Your philosophy, you have to give. And says, what does the Gemara say? Rabbi Akiva says, Ish v'isha, they got married, zachur shchina b'nehem. They have zechut, shchina b'nehem. He explains in page 107, כאשר הניתנה וההשפעה של אחד מבני הזוג היא אמיתית. Listen to this. When I'm giving to my zug אמיתית, for real, לשם שמיים, I'm doing it not because I want to get something from my wife, but because I really want to do it לשם שמיים, היא פועלת ומעוררת בקרב רעהו את מידת הנתינה הטבעית שבו. You know what happens when I'm giving something to my wife, really? היא פועלת ומעוררת בקרב רעהו את מידת הנתינה הטבעית שבו. You know what happens? I'm awakening the midah of giving, natural giving that he has. שבעצם קיימת בכל יהודי. Every Jew has inside of him to want to give. מבחינת החלק אלוקה ממעל שבו להשיב טובה לנותן. That means like this. If I'm giving to my wife, really giving, you know what happens to my wife automatically? She also wants to give. She wants to give back. חידוש נפתח זה פועל אפילו שהניתנה היא חד צדדית. Listen to what he's saying. Even if it's one-sided. Let's say a guy says, well, my wife, I'm the one always giving. Even if it's one-sided, you know what happens? באופן שבן הזוג נשאר באנוכיותו, even if one ben zug, one person stays with his אנוכיות, I'm me, אך זאת בהתנאי שהנתינה תהיה כל לשם שמיים. If I am giving my wife, לשם שמיים, I don't care if I get back. Remember, real giving is not receiving back. Real giving, and as a matter of fact, that's why a lot of us give up. Because what's the biggest test if I'm giving over L'Shem Shamayim? Because if I don't get back, how do I feel? If I feel bad, that means my giving is on L'Shem Shamayim. You know what it also applies to? The Chavot HaLevavot writes an unbelievable piece. So, and this is very helpful to us, people like us, that our kids are married. Chavot HaLevavot says you should give your children and do for your kids, not to expect anything back from them. And if you're expecting that when you grow up, you get older, they're going to take care of you, that means you didn't do your mission. Your mission to give is because God put you into this world to give. What says. Don't expect anything from your kids, nothing. If they come to you, good. If they don't come to you, good. That's very hard to hear.
You expect something, you get
That's very hard to hear. You're right. But in a way, it's hard to hear. What do you mean? I wake up in the middle of the night, I changed your diapers, I went to the doctors for you, I did this for you, I did that for you. And now when I want something for you, you tell me, no, chutzpah, right? Guess what? Says the Chavot HaLevavot. Chavot HaLevavot writes that the purpose, if I am doing everything and I want to achieve something, getting back, that means I didn't give. And therefore he says, when a husband gives his wife unconditional, even if he doesn't get back, you know what happens in the end? He says, באופן שבן הזוג נשאר באנוכיותו, אך בזאת נא, okay? בכוונה טהורה לשמח את. If I'm doing it to ממש make my wife happy, במילוי חסרונותיו ולקיים את מצוות השם אנחנו ברכם. על פי זה, what's going to happen is that person eventually will awaken in that person to want to do good back to me.
Maybe that's the reason why she doesn't want to do it, because he gave it with expecting.
Yeah, 100%.
Meaning if you give,
Because the rule is like this, very simple. When I look at my reflection, I see a face, I smile, so that my reflection smiles. Therefore, a woman feels if I'm real or not. Therefore, he says, if I give really, and by the way, with children is the same thing, with students is the same thing. I see my students, with students that I'm real, they are willing to do anything for me. They're willing to do anything for me. I have students that are willing to do anything for me. I ask them to give me they'll give. Why? Because I'm real. Because you want to be real. You're not doing it because I want something. I'm real. I'm there just to give. I'm there to give. You want to give? Give. You don't want to give? Don't give me. I don't want it again. With the wife also, he says, when I'm doing it, mamash, just to give, just because I love you and I care, because I want to give, not because I want to get something. I want to be close to God. That's why I'm giving. You know what happens? He says, the mekabel, the receiver will also want to give. That woman or that man that's always a receiver eventually will also want to give. You just have to keep on giving. Ki ora netina. Listen to this, because the light of giving, choder, makes a hole. It penetrates. Derech mischei anochinyut. We have a mask. Each one of us has a mask of anochi. Mask called narcissist, selfishness. Right? We have that mask. When I give to somebody because I really want to give, you know what happens? I penetrate to his mask, through his mask, until his pure, the depth of his pure soul. Who is his pure soul? Mekabel. His pure soul is really Mekabel. He's really Noten also. He's right now Mekabel, but his true real soul, deep down, is really Noten. Then he wants to give. בתחילת עבודה נפלאה זו כמעט ואי אפשר יהיה להימנע מכך שהנתינה תהיה בלולה בנגיעה אנוכית כלשהי. He says, of course, in the beginning it's going to be very hard, he says. It's going to be very hard. When I will give, I will want to get back, he says. In the beginning of my process, when I give, I will want to get back, and I'll fall. So it's not fair, my wife is like this. ואפשר שמשום כך גם הנתינה היא החד הצדדית לא תפעל לפעולתה בצורה שלמה. If I'm only giving one, sometimes it happens, he says over here, Yetzirah makes it in the beginning, when I give, I don't get back. Because Yetzirah makes it hard in the beginning. Maybe Mishamayim is going to be that it's going to be opposite. You're trying to give. It's like when people become frum, all of a sudden, instead of keeping Shabbat, all of a sudden they're losing their job. So what happens? It's a nisayon. It's a nisayon. Oh, you see, I became frum. It's a nisayon. It's a test. The key is what? Keep on giving. Keep on giving. You know how Hashem does that? Because He wants me to get to the point of giving, complete giving. You know, if I'm giving, and that person doesn't hear me, that means Hashem wants my giving to be even stronger. I see it with people. You should not understand. I'm telling you, as a Rabbi, I tell Rabbeim, a lot of people, the more you want to be matzlech in your teaching, in anything, build relationship with your students. A real relationship lasts. You don't understand how. Why? Because the neshamot connect. You want to have tremendous shalom bayit, just keep on giving. Give without any acceptance. Just give. And to your kids, just give. That's you will penetrate to the mask of anochiyut, he says over here. Anochiyut means selfishness of that person, and he's also want to give. Just to sum up, said Rav Dessler, the foundation, the hinges on what the world is standing on, two hinges. Noten or mekabel. Giver or receiver. Or mashpia, right? Or mekabel. Mashpia is influence, abundance, giving, or receiver, right? That's what the world is. Those that are givers, they connect to Hashem. Because Hashem is the ultimate giver. He gives. Those that are receivers, they're actually farthing themselves away to Hashem. So really, ultimately, what we really have to work on is Yirat Shamayim. The more awareness I have that there's God, the more I'm not doing it because I want something from my wife or my kids. I'm doing it because I want to be a good servant to God. That's all. That's all. I want to give them because I want to give back. When I do that, you know what happens? I have shalom bayit. So what you're going to leave today with is, Bezat Hashem, when you get married, when you have your zug, or if you're married, remember one thing. You want to have an everlasting shalom bayit. I'm talking to myself as well. We have to understand that part of it, it's not an easy task. It's not. But at least you know what is the key, what is the ingredient. You cannot have shalom bayit without working. You have to work. And what's the ingredient? The ingredient is really working within yourself, depth within you. Who am I? Am I a giver or a taker? And I realized one thing. People with bad midot have bad shalom bayit. You know that? People that have bad midot have bad shalom bayit. People with good midot have a good shalom bayit. Why? Obviously they're yotzei ma'aklal. But bad midot have bad shalom bayit. Why? Because when a person is all about me, taking, he won't last with his wife. Because if I'm taking, she's also taking. I realize this.
There'll be nothing left.
No, it's crazy. I realize people that have bad midot, selfishness, narcissist, and this type of personality, they have a very bad shalom bayit. People that are all about, just want to give. I'm a good. I want to help. I want to give. They have more or less a good shalom bayit. It's unbelievable. Why is that? Because that's what it is. Hashem wants me to be a giver. I am supposed to be a giver, and the more I take, and again, taking does not mean this physically taking. Sometimes I could be giving, but really it's really taking. If I'm doing that, it's not real. And women feel it. Everybody feels it around me. They don't want to connect. Everywhere. This Yisod is everywhere. You turn around, and even amongst your workers, your peers, you'll be able to see your children, everybody who is a giver, who is a taker. And the more people are giving, the more they're matzliach. Even in friends, even in school, you see kids, the more kids that givers, the more they're liked, the more they're respected, the more I'm talking about real givers. It's an unbelievable thing. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen.
That's the thing.